Okay, jumping right into the module, 6 assignments, and you can see that 2 of them are discussions, so that's a little bit different than most of our weeks. For this topic, second language acquisition, it is really important, really vital, so I really want you to absorb a lot of information and then reflect and apply that information. Okay, so let's just move right along. The first assignment is a quiz, and the quiz questions are based on the article here. This is about Stephen Krashen's theory of second language acquisition. So we're going to be looking at Stephen Krashen. He is really the most influential researcher on second language acquisition, and so I want you to really think about what he's saying. And the quiz questions, you should be able to find the answers in the order that they appear in the article. So have the article in front of you as you're going through the questions. The second assignment is something that I'm calling Design the Ideal Language School. So first, there is a video here. This is Dr. Krashen explaining a little bit more about his theories, and this is just a really good explanation. He really breaks it down about how people actually acquire language. For those of you who are bilingual, think about what he's talking about, how that applies to the way that you acquired a second language, whether you were 4 or 5 years old, or a teenager, or even an older adult. Okay, so really try to think about if what he's saying makes sense to your own experience in acquiring a second language, if you consider yourself bilingual. Then I've got an article here that talks about the different types of second language teaching methods. Okay, go ahead and read through, and as you're reading, think about how you learned or how you acquired a second language, and if the method that they are talking about makes sense, that it would work with students. Okay, so what I want you to write is think about a language school that you are designing. This is a hypothetical situation for beginning learners, and which of the second language methodologies that are described in the article, which one you would choose, and then describe all the different aspects here. Okay, so this is a completely hypothetical. If you had all the time in the world, all the resources in the world, what do you think would be the most effective for beginning language learners? Okay, then we come to our first discussion, and this is focusing on the 5 stages of second language acquisition. So as you're watching the video, as you're going through this short article, think about what we looked at in week 2 for the stages of first language acquisition, how babies acquire their first language. And just kind of note in your mind how the stages of second language acquisition, how they are in some ways different and in some ways the same. Okay. And then what I'm asking you to do here for this discussion is to choose just one of these questions, any one of the questions. Just choose one and really talk about it in depth. Okay, and then for the replies, it's very open-ended. Please try to respond to your classmates in a kind of meaningful way, not just I agree with you or disagree with you, but really add to what they're saying. And if you agree, explain why. If you don't quite agree, then explain why. Okay, and then there are a few optional resources for you if you want to get into this topic a little bit more. Okay, Next assignment is 2 different second language teaching models. So ELD versus SDI. And this is kind of coming at it from different points of view, okay? So you can read all about ELD and SDI. I've got a kind of a visual chart here for you, some slides, and then another short slide here that kind of explains the differences. And all I'm asking you here is to describe ELD, describe SDI, and then explain which one you think would work better. Okay. And then we're going to look at a real special population of English learners called Generation 1.5, Generation 1.5ers, sometimes they're called. Many of you who are in this class might be considered Generation 1.5 yourself, or maybe some of your siblings or your parents. So, think about that as you're reading through the description. There's an article about describing the characteristics, who they are, and then another article, tips for teachers, instructors who have Generation 1.5ers in their classes, okay? And then some questions to answer here. Okay. The last discussion is always a fun one. Because I'm asking you to think about your own experience learning or acquiring a second language. So this is not when you were a baby, when you were, learning or acquiring your first language, but some kind of experience that you've had, and we've all had some kind of experience, whether it was successful or not, of trying to learn or acquire a second language. So there are some factors. Okay, and this goes back to Dr. Krashen's theories, but there are some factors that determine whether a person is going to be successful or not successful while they are trying to acquire a second language. And two kind of categories of factors. The internal factors have to do with the characteristics of the learner. And then the external factors have to do with like describing or the characteristics of the context or the situation. Okay, so what I'm asking you to do is to give a description about one time when you were trying to or you were forced to learn or acquire a second language. Just describe it. What happened? What were all the details about it? And then for the replies, pick 2 of your classmates and thinking about the external and internal factors, talk about which of those factors apply to your classmates' post, okay, to the situation that they're describing. So you can choose just one factor if one is really, really obvious, or you can talk about more than one. Probably there's going to be more than one in everybody's situation if they did a good job of describing their language learning experience. Okay, and then that takes us to the end of the week. So let me know if you have any questions. I will be around this weekend, maybe tomorrow, not quite as much because we're having people over for the 4th of July. So morning we're going to try to clean the house and the yard, and then in the afternoon we're going to be hanging out. But I will be able to answer questions, over the weekend, and then of course all throughout next week. Okay, please be safe. Don't do anything crazy. Try not to drive too much. Stay off the road tomorrow. Take care of your pets, and let me know if you have any questions. All right, bye-bye.